Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Sally Nugent.
The headlines for you today. Every adult in England will be offered a COVID booster by the end of the month as the Prime Minister tries to stem what he calls a tidal wave of Omicron.
Get boosted now to protect our NHS, our freedoms and our way of life.
The target will mean up to 1 million jabs a day, but there's concern over the scale of the task for an already stretched NHS.
A return to working from home as guidance in England falls into line with Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. But what does it mean for office spaces like this and the people and places that rely on it?
More than 90 people have died after devastating tornadoes swept through the Midwest of America. Good morning, it's Monday, it's the 13th of December and every adult over the age of 18 in England is to be offered a third dose of a coronavirus vaccine by the end of this month in a major acceleration of the booster programme.
The Prime Minister said the new target was necessary to combat a tidal wave of the rapidly spreading Omicron variant.
There are warnings this morning the booster rollout could have an impact on non-COVID NHS care. Here's more from our political correspondent Chris Mason.
The countdown to the new year might look rather like this. Queuing for a booster. The Prime Minister wants to massively accelerate the delivery of vaccine shots because
I'm afraid we're now facing an emergency in our battle with the new variant, Omicron. And we must urgently reinforce our wall of vaccine protection to keep our friends and loved ones safe.
Here's a sense of the scale of what he's hoping to achieve. To offer everyone aged 18 and over a booster by the end of the month means giving 1 million doses a day, every day, until the end of the year. At the moment, around 500,000 doses are being given a day. To achieve this doubling will come at a cost, with other non-COVID related healthcare being put off.
This will require an extraordinary effort, and as we focus on boosters and make this new target achievable, it will mean some other appointments will need to be postponed until the new year. But if we don't do this now, the wave of Omicron could be so big that cancellations and disruptions, like the loss of cancer appointments, would be even greater next year.
And behind this door, his conclusion was simple and stark.
So let's do it. Let's get boosted now. Get boosted now for yourself, for your friends and your family. Get boosted now to protect jobs and livelihoods across this country. Get boosted now to protect our NHS, our freedoms and our way of life. Get boosted now.
National addresses like this from a Prime Minister are pretty rare and they have two consequences. Firstly, they grab attention, but secondly, they remove the opportunity for scrutiny, for questions. Is the plan realistic? Will it mean more restrictions are coming? Labour are, for now at least, backing the government.
This has got to be a big national effort. All of us have got a part to play, and it's crucial that, you know, despite people's anger and frustration with the Prime Minister, justifiable anger and frustration with the Prime Minister, we put that to one side in the effort to get the vaccine booster rollout and to make it a success.
Tomorrow, the Prime Minister will seek and secure parliamentary approval for the introduction of so-called Plan B in England, the already announced step-up of measures to try to reduce the spread of the virus. The question now is how soon there might be talk of a Plan C. Chris Mason, BBC News.
It's a very important question. Let's speak now to our chief political correspondent, Adam Fleming. Adam, good morning to you. So the Prime Minister facing a bit of criticism for choosing to announce the new plan in this televised statement with no opportunity to ask any questions. What more do we know about that, and will there be some questions for him today?
Morning, Dan. Well, it's true that if you do a big televised address to the nation, then there isn't a chance for anyone to ask you questions about the various other stories that are swirling around the government. But it's also true that if you want to get a message to millions of people who are tuning into the Strictly Results show to tell them to go and get a booster, you can't get better than that method of doing it. We now have this huge logistical challenge, though, of just delivering a lot more jabs to a lot more people every day, very, very quickly. And the government is facing lots of other challenges this week. There will be a vote in Parliament tomorrow on the Plan B measures, which includes the introduction of COVID passes for certain venues in England like nightclubs and large events, which is very controversial, and we'll see lots of Conservative MPs, Boris Johnson's own colleagues, voting against the government. Then on Thursday, there'll be a big political test for the government because there's a by-election in North Shropshire after Owen Paterson resigned from that seat. And there are also reports this morning that the inquiry into alleged parties and gatherings in Downing Street and other government departments last Christmas, which has been carried out by the country's most senior civil servant, could be published by the end of this week. That soon. And then, as Chris was saying in his piece there, you're starting to hear a lot more scientists say that the threat from Omicron is so large, we should be looking at other measures, other restrictions on how we live our lives, rather than just focusing on this booster campaign. And so I think maybe those calls will start to get louder, and there'll be a lot of tension with MPs who aren't even in favour of the current measures that are being introduced. So a very, very big week ahead.
OK, and thank you for that, Adam. We'll discuss some of those issues with the Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, at 7:30 this morning.
Well, meanwhile, extra support has been promised to speed up the vaccine drive in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Like England, Scotland is aiming to offer all adults a booster by the end of the year, while Wales has set a target for the end of January. In Northern Ireland, people over the age of 30 are currently being offered third doses, with plans to step up the rollout.
And from today, people in England are advised to work from home if they can in a bid to try and slow the spread of the Omicron variant of the virus. Oh, sorry.
Shall I?
No, go on.
Thanks.
Yeah, go on, carry on.
Like a little dance.
Go on then.
The new guidance brings the country in line with Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Our business correspondent, Caroline Davis, has this report.
Dwindling numbers on the commute on Friday, and from today, many workers will stay at home after the advice in England changed again.
You should work from home if you can. I know this will be hard for many people, but by reducing your contacts in the workplace, you will help slow transmission.
In Newmarket, some were resigned, others disappointed.
If we have to, we will do, and I can do my job from home.
I've been going into the office one day a week. It's just nice to go somewhere different, just have a bit of a change, get out of the house, actually put on proper clothes.
Some worry that something is lost when people can't meet in real life.
Just feel like there's a bit of a loss of that team working. We're a small team, there's only 8 of us, and it's really easy these days just to turn on Zoom or Teams or whatever it might be to have a meeting. But yeah, you sort of lose a bit of granularity when you start heading down that route, in particular when it's simple enough to turn around and ask somebody a question. Now you can just have to jump on an hour Zoom call.
In the UK, England was an outlier. Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland had already advised staff to continue working remotely wherever possible. Just under 36% of workers in Britain did some work from home in 2020, according to the Office for National Statistics. That had an impact on city centres. And even though many people are yet to go back to the office full time, in the last week of November, 7 in 10 travel to work at least once. In Sheffield, this restaurant has already been affected by Plan B.
Pretty much overnight, we lost about 100 covers with the announcement of Plan B. We foresee losing more covers, and obviously, not to mention the walk-in trade that we'll miss over Christmas and the New Year period. So really, I think for the hospitality industry, this is a real devastating blow.
The question that's likely to be in many people's minds as they make their morning coffee and commute the few paces to their laptop today will be how long will they be working from home for? Caroline Davis, BBC News.
Police searching for the missing nursing assistant Petra Sansova have found a body in a park in south-east London. The 32-year-old has been missing since late last month. Formal identification has not yet taken place, but her family in the Czech Republic have been informed.
More than £500 million of new funding has been announced by the government to help crack down on benefit fraud.
The cash injection will go towards hiring hundreds of officials to check properties, bank accounts and wages. Our social affairs correspondent Michael Buchanan has the story.
An early morning raid on a suspected benefit fraudster in Birmingham earlier this month.
Police, can you come to the door?
The person thereafter is accused of being a member of a criminal gang that stole £4 million in fraudulent claims for Universal Credit. Benefit officials say they're determined to recover as much money as they can. and there's a lot to reclaim. A record £8.4 billion was lost due to fraud and error last year. In response, the government is now going to spend £510 million tackling the problem. Among other things, the money will be spent hiring almost 2,000 fraud investigators.
It is about developing the prevention techniques up front. We certainly learned a lot during the pandemic, but there are other elements at the moment where we're going through all the claims that were made that we potentially tagged at the time as being fraudulent, or where we didn't have evidence, and we're going back over those.
Having a look at your statement, weren't you? Because you've had 2 payments go in from your wages, haven't you?
The pandemic led to benefit rules being relaxed to allow record numbers of claimants to be paid quickly. But criminal gangs exploited the system, stealing identities and making bogus claims. Ministers hope this new investment will deter more scammers and help them catch those who have already stolen taxpayers' money. Michael Buchanan, BBC News.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.